Claude Opus 5 and Claude Code both score 79.2% on S2E Bench Pro because they literally run the same engine, same model, same scores, and the only thing that changes is the wrapper around it. A lot of developers right now are picking between these two and genuinely don't know which one to pay for. So I ran Opus 5 against Claude Code across 6 real tests, pulled from verified sources, no vendor money, no cherry picking to figure out where the actual difference lives. Honestly, the benchmark scores are basically a wash. The real question is whether the tooling gap is big enough to change how you ship code day to day, and the answer might not be what you'd expect going in. This comparison is for anyone deciding whether to stay in the Claude chat interface or move their whole workflow into Claude Code. If you're a developer doing real in-repo work, that call affects how fast you ship and how much friction you deal with every single day. So let's get into it. Test 1 is coding accuracy and debugging. And this is the one that trips people up most, because if the model gets a bug wrong, you're the one spending 2 hours chasing a false lead. So you want to know before you commit which tool actually finds the problem, not just suggests a fix. What surprised me is there's literally nothing to separate them. I looked at Frontier Bench version 0.1 and SWE Bench Pro, and both tools come back at 43.3 to 44% and 79.2% respectively. Same numbers, both columns, because they share the identical Opus 5 model underneath and the scores just can't diverge. Take this with a grain of salt, because these are benchmark scores, not your actual code base. And the self-verification and bug finding you care about are model-level features, not tool-level ones. Claude Code doesn't get smarter at debugging just because it's wrapped in a terminal. The engine is the engine. Honestly, I thought Claude Code might have some kind of edge from its tighter dev loop, but the data just doesn't show it. Coding accuracy is a dead tie, 79.2% on both sides. And that puts us at 0 to 0 with one test tied, which is the most accurate result I could give you. Test 2 is context window and large code base handling. And this one stings when it goes wrong. You paste in a whole repo, the model starts forgetting what was in the first file by the time it's reading the last one, and your refactor turns into a mess. Context size is the thing that decides whether you can even attempt big projects. Both tools come in at exactly 1 million tokens on paid plans. I looked for any sign that Claude Code compresses context better or indexes smarter, but it doesn't. And Anthropic claims no degradation up to 1 million, though community reports suggest things can get shaky past 400 to 600,000 in practice. Same caveat applies to both, which is pretty interesting. Another tie, I thought the tool layer might do something clever with context management. But nope, it's the same 1 million window, same model behavior, same real world limits, and that's now 2 tests tied, 0 wins for either side. Test 3 is real-time code execution speed, and this one matters because if you're literally hammering the model with edit, compile, test loops all day, a slowdown adds up fast. A 2.5 times speed gap across a full workday is the difference between shipping and waiting. So I wanted to know if Claude Code actually feels faster in practice. All right, so I looked for published data comparing Claude Code's iteration speed against raw Opus 5 API calls, and there just isn't any. Opus 5's fast mode is advertised at about 2.5 times faster than standard, and Claude Code can use that same mode, but nobody's measured the full edit-to-test loop speed head-to-head. Automating more steps should feel faster. So I thought this would be Claude Code's moment, but without measured data, I can't call a winner here. So this one stays unverified and ties out, putting us at 3 tests tied so far. Test 4 is multi-language support and framework coverage. And this is where it gets real for polyglot projects. You're working in a repo that mixes Python, TypeScript, and some Rust, and you need the tool to actually run the linter and the build, not just suggest what the command should be, because that gap costs you time every single time. Both tools support the same languages: Python, JS, TypeScript, Java, Rust, Go, C#, the full list, and the model coverage is identical. But Claude Code can actually execute linters, compilers, and package managers natively, while Opus 5 in chat just suggests the code and you copy-paste it yourself. That's a real difference. Claude Code takes this one. Language coverage turned out to be a non-story. The tooling execution is what matters. And same languages means a completely different experience on polyglot projects because Claude Code actually runs the commands. That's Claude Code's first win. And the score is now Claude Opus 5.0, Claude Code 1.3 tied. Test 5 is IDE and CI/CD integration. And this is the one that breaks workflows when it's missing. You're mid-PR, you want an automated review before merge, and your AI tool has no idea what a pull request is, so you end up doing that review manually, which defeats the whole point of having an AI coding tool. This one isn't even close. Claude Code runs directly inside VS Code, JetBrains, and the terminal, and it hooks into GitHub and GitLab for PR reviews via tools like CodeRabbit, while Claude Opus 5 has none of that. It's chat only, no IDE panel, no CI/CD, nothing. I looked at the official docs, and the gap is just total. Claude Code wins this cleanly. I was expecting maybe a partial gap, but it's a full sweep on integration. Opus 5 gets 0 IDE support and 0 CI/CD hooks, and that's back-to-back wins for Claude Code. Running score is now Claude Opus 5.0, Claude Code 2, 3 tied. Test 6 is pricing, and this one can sneak up on you fast. You assume the developer tool costs more because it does more, you budget for a premium, and then your invoice comes back and you've overpaid for something you didn't need to. Knowing the real per token cost up front saves you from that surprise. The pricing is completely identical. Standard mode is $5 per million input tokens and $25 per million output tokens for both. Fast mode bumps to $10 and $50 per million, and Claude Code itself is free to install. You only pay for the API calls at the same rate either way. Another tie, and honestly, this one surprised me more than any of the benchmark ties. I figured there'd be some kind of tool tax on top of the API rate, but there's nothing. Same $5/$25 per million tokens, no premium for the harness, and the final score lands at Claude Opus 5.0, Claude Code 2, 4 tied. Claude Opus 5 wins on general purpose reach. It matches Claude Code on every coding benchmark, but also handles creative writing, analysis, and non-code tasks that Claude Code just isn't built for. And if you need zero setup, you open the Claude web or mobile app and you're running immediately, no terminal, no IDE, no config. Claude Code wins on everything that touches an actual dev workflow. It runs inside VS Code and JetBrains, hooks into GitHub and GitLab for automated PR reviews, and can execute linters, compilers, and package managers directly. Plus, it handles multi-step refactoring loops and code-based indexing natively, which is not a small gap for a working developer. So here's where I landed. Claude Code's 2 wins are both in the places that actually change your daily workflow, and the price is identical either way. Same model, different experience. If you're a developer doing real in-wrapper work, go Claude Code, no extra cost, way less friction. If you need a general purpose AI that also codes well, Opus 5 in chat is enough. The engine is the engine. Pick the right rig,